Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona is now here with me. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to start with the immigration plans. He said he wants to re-examine the status of people who are in this country legally, which may include naturalized citizens, blocking migration from, quote, third world countries, pausing all asylum decisions from any country, and calling for, quote, reverse migration.
Well, I think this is consistent with what we've seen from this president to date, rounding up people in their community. He said he was going to go after drug dealers, gang members, criminals. What we've seen so far is a little bit of that and a lot of just breaking up communities, going after people like Kelly Yu, who is in an ICE detention center in Phoenix, who I visited, who is a business owner. She's got 70 employees. She fled China 20 years ago, fleeing communist China, came to this country. She is undocumented. Her mom's a U.S. citizen, her kid's a U.S. citizen, sister's a U.S. citizen. She has a deportation order. She is no threat to anybody. There are hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of these people.
But these are legal immigrants that he's talking about. And
he's kicked out legal immigrants already. This is kind of more of the same from this president. When he says things like third world countries, what is he really saying? I think what he's saying is he doesn't want brown people in our country. And that is disturbing, and it's un-American. He's kicking out people, that came here legally, that pose no threat to anybody. But go after the criminals, the drug dealers, the gang members.
I just want to be clear on what you're saying. Are you saying that all 190,000 Afghans in America should be revetted, that the process?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But going after a large group of people, most of which I think are just trying to live their lives, raise their families, go to work every day, the U.S. government harassing them, years later, does not make a lot of sense to me.
I want to turn to new questions around the first U.S. military strike in September on a ship that the administration says was carrying drugs. Now, sources tell CNN after the missile struck the boat, there were survivors, and that a second strike was launched to kill anyone who was left. Secretary Pete Hegseth is defending the move, saying it is lawful under both U.S. and international law. What do you think?
Well, Dan, I hope it's not true what is being reported. That would be very disturbing. I think there needs to be an Inspector General investigation. Pete Hegseth, who is totally unqualified to be Secretary of Defense, he fired a bunch of the IGs within the department. That makes this more challenging. I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to investigate that. That's why in the Armed Services Committee in the Senate and the House, we're going to have hearings. We'll have public hearings. We'll put people under oath. We need to get to the bottom of this. Hey, the U.S. military is, the most powerful and effective, military in the world. And we've got to be, precise, and we have to be operating in accordance with U.S. law and international law, always.
Based on what CNN is reporting, what the Washington Post is reporting, do you believe if there was a second strike to eliminate any survivors, that constitutes a war crime?
It seems to. If that is true, if what has been reported is accurate, I've got serious concerns about anybody in that chain of command stepping over a line that they should never step over. We are not Russia. We're not Iraq. We hold ourselves to a very high standard of professionalism. And this is where I'm really troubled about this, is because I have so much respect for people in the United States Navy. I served in the Navy for 25 years. And there is no organization more professional than Navy SEALs. And they should be revered. And that's why I say I hope what I've heard about this strike is not accurate.
You mentioned that you are a captain in the Navy. If you received that order, would you have carried it out?
No. No, and I'm a guy who, I have sunk 2 ships. I've sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor, a Palnakni troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. I never, in that situation, questioned whether those strikes were legal. We were given an order to do this. It was a time of war. These were Iraqi ships with Iraqi crew members who posed a threat to the United States military, in this case, who they invaded Kuwait. We're trying to kick them out of Kuwait. This was approved by Congress, all of that, right? So But if I was ever given an order for a second, I've had questions about the operation in general, and I've been saying this for weeks, putting service members kind of like, are you stepping over a line here? Is this legal? They have tied themselves in knots trying to explain to us on the Armed Service Committee how this is legal. Not sharing, all of the information either, which is really troubling. But, going after survivors in the water, that is clearly not lawful.
That was the gist of the video that you and 5 other members of Congress who all served in various capacities in the military put out there. You said, our laws are clear, you can refuse illegal orders. That video, I don't need to tell you, sparked a lot of outrage from the administration. Yes, they launched an FBI investigation. Has the FBI knocked on your door yet? Have they asked?
Well, first, let me start by saying we said something very simple and non-controversial, and the President of the United States said, hang them, execute them, prosecute them. In my case, Secretary Hegseth said, prosecute him under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for, by the way, reciting the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's obviously ridiculous, but this is an attempt to silence me, to get me to not hold this administration accountable. We have a president who doesn't understand the Constitution, who installed an unqualified Secretary of Defense. I cannot think of a Secretary of Defense in the history of our country that is less qualified than Pete Hegseth. He should not be in this position. He should have been fired after Signalgate, and now he should be fired again for this, if this is accurate. So he's not going to get me to back down. But what he is doing is sending a very chilling message across our entire nation, not only in the military, but the civilian workforce. Who's going to speak up and say anything if they see something that's unlawful or see something waste, fraud, and abuse? Why would anyone speak out if they can go and try to prosecute a U.S. senator?
Is it happening?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was notified. I was notified about this through a tweet, the same tweet that you saw. And that demonstrates how unserious this administration is. They care more about the publicity about this than the process or the law.